So here we go, take two again.
Okay.
Just like 2018 is just all about take two. So Dan, hit that intro.
Hell, this is totally not Danzig, and you're listening to the Shred Shack.
Hey, that was an intro. I don't even have the script pulled up. I'm not even ready for this. Hold on. Stop. Greetings, folks. I'm Dan Mack.
And this is Chris Mack.
Welcoming you to what is possibly episode 89, who the fuck knows, of the Shred Shack podcast, your premier source of news and uninformed yet heavily biased opinions pertaining to all things heavy metal, airing weekly or bi-weekly, as it's going to likely be, on iTunes, Mixcloud, Google Play, as well as on YouTube at youtube.com/The Shred Shack and youtube.com/Adamant's Templum. This is the second podcast we've done this year, and we've had the same problem twice.
We're just trying to get our groove back. That's all.
Yeah. Well,
we were out of practice for a while.
Well, let's get into some old business before we get into our new groove.
Old business is old business, and new business is new business.
That's what I need clips from. Emperor's New Groove.
At least you got the clips ready then on the second take.
Yeah, this time I'm like, oh, dude, don't fuck that one up. Don't fuck it up. Don't
All
fuck
right.
it up.
So as we were talking about before, that mysteriously went into the cloud here. Tom Petty died of an accidental overdose due to a mixture of medications, his family has revealed. The Heartbreakers frontman passed away last October, shortly after completing a tour celebrating the band's 40th anniversary, and he was 66 years old at the time of his passing. According to a statement from the Los Angeles County Department of Medical Examiner, Petty was taking several medications, including fentanyl, oxycodone, Xanax, Restoril, and Celexa. The coroner's report lists his official cause of death as, quote, multi-system organ failure due to resuscitated cardiopulmonary arrest due to mixed drug toxicity. In a statement posted Friday, January 19th to the Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers Facebook page, Petty's widow Dana and eldest daughter Adria said that the medical examiner informed them Friday morning of the accidental overdose, and they are quoted as saying, on the day he died, he was informed his hip had graduated to a full-on break, and it is our feeling that the pain was simply unbearable and was the cause of his overdose or overuse of medication.
Now I'm going to do an abridged version of what we were talking about on our first take, which is in my recent experience at my job where I do deal with some medications and some folks who are being prescribed medications. A lot of folks who are getting things like oxycodone and who are seeing pain management doctors are told not to be taking certain medications such as Klonopin. Xanax might be included, I'm not sure 100%, because of the potential danger of having the two mix. In this case, if he was in a severe amount of pain and took a lot of one to compensate, it could have been an unfortunate deadly mix, or it could have just been an unfortunate amount of one. Who knows? Regardless of that, his death sucks.
Yeah,
So
very much so. All right. Speaking of catching up on some past deaths here, according to the Des Moines Register, the wife and daughter of late Slipknot bassist Paul Gray have obtained a settlement from healthcare providers who were blamed for his drug overdose death. Gray was found dead on May 24th, 2010, and as we talked about before, that I can't believe it was that long ago.
yeah,
It really does feel like it was just yesterday.
Yeah, I feel like it's something that we covered on this podcast.
Yeah.
You know?
After overdosing on drugs in a hotel room in a suburb of Des Moines, Iowa, where he and Slipknot were based. His family blamed the death on a Des Moines pain doctor named Daniel Baldy, who had treated Gray for years and sued the doctor and his former employers. The lawsuit was scheduled to go to trial this past Monday, but it was settled over the weekend.
And this kind of falls into the same territory as the previous one because, it's a pain doctor. There may have been more there. He may have been taking other medications that may have, increased the danger of taking one or the other.
Mm-hmm.
Still, as always, a damn shame, and I always encourage people to be mindful of what you're taking, when you're taking it, and how much you're taking of it. Yeah.
Yep.
So let's move on, in that case, to new business.
And this is new business, and we do not discuss new business until next quarter.
And as always with new business, we start discussing new album releases. And during our first take, we realized that we haven't really fully listened to anything in the last 2 weeks as far as new releases go. I listened to about 4 tracks or so from the new album from Adavant titled "The Unyielding." It was one that was kickstarted, I believe, in the middle of last year, and it was a successful Kickstarter, and the product is finally coming out. Actually, it actually officially comes out on the 27th. But those who kickstarted it and those who actually attended the record release show got their copies early. And what I've heard of it so far, it is fucking fantastic. So I can guarantee you this is not going to be the last I'm going to talk about it. It's going to end up in my top 3 for sure. So,
Nice.
It is fucking good, and I am looking forward to hearing the rest of it when I've got a moment to sit down and tell the world to shut the fuck up. And then after that, we discussed a whole lot of stuff coming out in January, because January looks like a pretty stellar month.
Yep.
Like I don't believe there's going to be any chance of us having to do some infighting as far as who gets what.
No, I'm just looking at the list right now, and I have a feeling I know what my top 3 is going to be, just not even without listening to it.
Yeah.
You know, I mentioned to you before that in the next 2 weeks before the next podcast that we record, Philip H. Anselmo and the Illegals are releasing their second album, Choosing Mental Illness as a Virtue. It comes out tomorrow. It's streaming right now on blabbermouth.net, so I'm probably doing my damnedest to pick that up, to listen to that. Also, Valentine's Day is coming up, so I'll have some. I'll have my girlfriend pick me up a couple CDs. I'm already eyeing, of course, Philip Anselmo and the Illegals, Machine Head, Black Label Society, Orphan Land. These are just some of the things I'm eyeing right now.
Yeah. One thing you will not see on any of our top 3s, however, and let me finish the statement before anybody goes, is Orphan Land, because we're doing an actual review on that,
Standalone.
and we try not to include albums that we're going to review in our top 3s. Although it would probably end up on Pat's top 3 if that were the case.
More than likely, he might have to find me for that one.
Yeah. Which I still have to send you that album, so we can get ready for it, because we are recording it when Pat is here.
He's here when again?
The middle of February.
Oh, wow, that's coming up real fast. Okay, we gotta go to work.
Yeah. So aside from that, what else were you listening to this week? You mentioned something about our next coming video.
Yeah, our next coming video, our next 10-word review video is going to be about Iron Maiden. That was the poll winner on our Facebook page. So I've just been listening to Iron Maiden I think I started yesterday, as a matter of fact, and I got up to Power Slave. And we were in the middle of a discussion about
Paul Di'Anno.
Paul Di'Anno.
Yeah, we were saying that after listening to, obviously I love the first 2 Iron Maiden albums. After listening to the Architects of Chaos album recently, which is one of his more recent projects, I had stated that I feel he is underrated as a vocalist. I think he has a little bit more range than people give him credit for. He definitely not that Bruce Dickinson caliber of singer, but as far as fronting a metal band, fronting a rock band of any kind, he has it. Well, as of 2 years ago, at least, he still had it. So I just think he's sorely underrated.
Yeah, and I was just trying to, right before we realized the computer died, I was saying that the vibe of the first 2 Iron Maiden records are a little bit more raw, a little bit more punkish, and I felt that Di'Anno's vocal style kind of fits that sound more appropriately than Bruce Dickinson's more melodic sound, which is why they shifted gears and went a little bit more melodic with Number of the Beast and Onward. I mean, just listen to some of the tracks with Di'Anno on it, after hearing so many renditions of Bruce Dickinson singing it, I actually kind of think that I like the Di'Anno versions better. Like Running Free, I think it's a better song with Di'Anno singing it. I like Sanctuary with him singing it. Is that Sanctuary?
Probably.
Yeah, I think so. I like Iron Maiden with him singing it.
Yeah.
The song Iron Maiden. Like, there's just so much stuff that's really good with him singing it that I think he really is just overlooked, as one of the frontmen of one of the best metal bands in the history of the world. So.
Speaking of Iron Maiden and live stuff, I splurged and bought the
Is that the Book of Souls DVD?
No, it's not the DVD. It's actually, this is the CD.
Oh.
It's in a book. But the new Book of Souls live chapter CD, which is giving me a new appreciation of the Book of Souls.
Yeah, I see. On the script for the 10-word reviews, you went backwards and you started with the latter half of the catalog.
I was jumping around. So I think the first one I did was probably X Factor and Virtual 11 because those are the first ones I think of as far as what I could possibly say, since I know it's going to contrast a little bit with everybody else's. So start there and work around. So, what have I been listening to? Oh, I don't know. Just random shit. But today, I was listening to the latest album from Operation Mindcrime, which is actually going to be in my top for December. That's coming up soon. And otherwise, started trying to get an earful of some of the stuff that Pat sent down.
Yeah, I still have to go through the Pat Kessler box of fun, too.
Well, the last one the main one I listened to thus far is Obituary, Executioner's Return.
Yeah, well, I think... Was that the name of the album that you got me for Christmas?
No, I got you like the new Obituary.
The newest one, yeah. Okay, my bad.
Yeah, this one's from like 10 years ago. But good old-fashioned death metal.
Yeah.
Can't argue with it.
Nope.
But yeah, that's pretty much been it. Aside from working on the top 3 for November, which obviously had to get an earful of that for a long time. So Galactic Cowboys. So good.
Been jockeying them for a long time.
I know, and I'm so happy. It's like one of those things that, like, as I listen to it more and more, I'm like, I love this album. It's so good. It's exactly what it needs to be. It's the Galactic fucking Cowboys. Yeah. So let's go on to the next section, which is just a downer. After talking about the Galactic Cowboys, we go on to something about obituaries.
Yeah, this one is kind of like an obituary / crime blotter, because I didn't know about this guy at all. And some of the things he was accused. Anyway, so according to the Spanish newspaper El Progreso, former Judas Priest drummer Dave Holland has passed away at the age of 69. The musician died on Tuesday, January 16th at Hospital Universitario Lucas Augusti in Lugo, Spain.
They are just torturing you today.
I know. I had to go. He had to live in a foreign country, of course. But the cause of his death has not been revealed, but his body has been cremated, according to the newspaper. Holland had reportedly been residing in Fonsagrada, a town and municipality in the province of Lugo in northwest Spain, after spending several years in a British jail for attempting to rape a teenage boy. The drummer was sentenced in January of 2004 of trying to assault the 17-year-old in his cottage in Northamptonshire, England, while giving him drum lessons. The abuse was revealed in a letter written by the teenager to his parents. He has always denied any involvement in the attempted rape of the special needs student, and was at one point said to be planning to write a tell-all biography of his life and career. According to El Progreso, Dave lived discreetly in a secluded part of Spain and was described by his neighbors, who knew him as, quote, very kind and polite. Dave Holland joined Priest in 1979 and stayed in the band for a decade, playing on such classic albums as British Steel, Point of Entry, Screaming for Vengeance, Defenders of the Faith, Turbo, and Ram It Down. He exited the band in 1989 and was replaced by Scott Travis. Holland was also a founding member of Trapeze alongside Glenn Hughes and Mel Gailey, his bandmates from a previous group named Finders Keepers.
Dan, edit that out. Jesus fucking Christ.
Did you get the flu?
No.
Oh.
I got a mild strain of strep throat.
Oh, shit.
Probably. I don't know. I didn't go to a doctor. I don't go to doctors.
Agreed.
I don't have a doctor yet, so. But sore throat for a while, exhaustion, nausea. Nothing like I'm sitting there shitting blood or anything like that. So
That's usually a good thing.
yeah, that's usually what I assume the flu is. So yeah, I got nothing to say about that one, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So, just because it's death, you want to be sad, but you also know there's a potential crime hanging over his head. So move along.
All right, we're into general news now. All right, according to the Hollywood Reporter, Game of Thrones actor Ewan Rayonna, he's the guy who played Ramsay Bolton in Game of Thrones. Sick motherfucker.
Nerd. Sorry.
Anyway, and the Punisher actor Daniel Weber are in negotiations to star as Motley Crue guitarist Mick Mars and frontman Vince Neil, respectively, in the film adaptation of the group's biography, The Dirt: Confessions of the World's Most Notorious Rock Band. Last week, Crue bassist Nikki Sixx tweeted that Douglas Booth will play him, and Variety reported that Tommy Lee will be portrayed by rapper Machine Gun Kelly.
Machine Gun Kelly's a rapper?
Allegedly.
I
thought it was a band.
I always thought it was like a.
I thought it was like an emo band.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, man. Like one of those like emo bands from like 10 plus years ago.
So shows what we know.
Yeah, shit. I mean, for the most part, I don't know any of those fuckers. So.
Well, the only thing I know that the guy who's playing Mick Mars, like I said, he's from Game of Thrones. He played Ramsay Bolton. Mm-hmm. He's also in the new, I think it's the New Mutants, or Inhumans, or one of those. He's in one of those new shows or movies about mutants.
Gotcha.
So he's in one of those.
And what about the other two?
Well, Daniel Weber is the Punisher on the Marvel series on Netflix, from what I understand. So that's all I know of him from. I never watched it.
Is the Punisher?
Wait,
No,
no,
he's
he's
definitely
not.
not.
That's not him. That's not him.
Yeah.
He's someone in that show.
Yeah. I was gonna say it's
that was
John
yeah,
Bernthal.
Yeah, that's my bad.
I was gonna say if John Berthal's in that movie, like who's he playing?
Right? So your jaw's way too square to be Vince Neil, buddy.
Seriously.
All right, let's get away from Motley Crue because I just don't like them. Anyway, Life of Agony has announced the addition of drummer Veronica Bellino to the group's ranks. She joins the band as a replacement for Sal Bruscato, who amicably left Life of Agony last month. Bellino is a New York native who has been on the rise as one of the industry's hottest young drummer and songwriters. She has co-written with the legendary DMC, found a national spotlight in the game's Red Nation video, worked with LL Cool J as a member of his signed band 13, conquered dozens of stages with drum icon Carmine Appice's Slam group, and worked with Living Legend Award recipient Jeff Beck.
That's pretty intense.
Yeah, she's got some resume on her, so to join Life of Agony, that's pretty badass. Good on her.
I can't hear the name The Game without thinking of Triple H though.
Time to play the game.
I was like, wait a minute, Triple H is in a band? That's awesome.
Well, I think the best thing I saw all week was to promote Raw's 25th anniversary. Mm-hmm. They went on Jimmy Fallon, and they did his lip sync battle. And The New Day and Jimmy Fallon did Boyz II Men and Motown Philly, which was fantastic. But then Stephanie McMahon Helmsley, and Triple H did the song from Moana, right? And Triple H is sitting back there like, oh, I got to, oh. But he gets the microphone and he fucking slays it. He fucking owns that song. It was amazing.
That's awesome.
Oh my god. Anyway, moving on here. Rush guitarist Alex Lifeson has confirmed that the band is unlikely to play any more shows or make new music. It's been a little over 2 years since Rush last toured, he has told the Globe and Mail. We have no plans to tour or record anymore. We're basically done. After 41 years, we felt it was enough.
So he basically walked up to the microphone, went, and then walked away. It's like, yeah, we're doing I understand that.
And you failed.
It's like, so you guys gonna make another album?
So that's a bummer.
Yeah, well, I mean, we knew it was coming, and
it feels like it's like the end of an era for a lot of bands, which we come in to talk about later on.
Yeah, I can hear a lot of nerds crying.
Yeah. Like, no, Kiss is still going, but Rush comes to an end.
That's gonna be part of our argument for later. So let's carry on with this till we get to that
All right.
one. So.
Metal band Bad Wolves has released its cover version of the Cranberries' most famous and successful song, "Zombie." The Cranberries' lead vocalist Dolores O'Riordan.
Reardon.
Reardon.
Yeah.
Oh, I am very phonetic. Anyway, was set to record her vocals on the track earlier this week when she was found dead on the bathroom floor of her London hotel room by a maid hours after her death. She was supposed to record the song hours after she was supposed, died. So she was scheduled to play whatever, according to multiple reports. And I do believe, if I remember correctly, I didn't catch it in the Blabbermouth thing, but I believe Bad Wolves is donating proceeds from the song that they released to her family.
Oh. Well, I'm surprised that we didn't actually cover that in the obituary section.
The only reason I didn't do that is because I couldn't find the original article of her passing, which was usually what I copy and paste from.
Yeah.
So that's why I put that in that.
That was a shocker though. Like,
the thing is, I didn't get to read the article, but just scrolling through Facebook, I think, and you can't hold this to me. I think it was found out that she purposely overdosed on drugs.
Okay, so
it was a suicide. Again, you can't. I don't know for a fact, but I think it's out there.
Still a damn shame. And again, not with this year already starting off pretty poorly.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where you're not expecting. That's not what you're expecting.
Yeah, definitely not. It was not
in the same way that we weren't expecting, like Chester Bennington, Chris Cornell.
Yep.
Especially under the means that had happened. This is another one that's like, wait, what? What?
Yeah. All right. Anybody who's a fan of Pour Some Sugar on Me, which, oh God.
Get fucked.
Def Leppard's full catalog of diamond, platinum, and multi-platinum iconic albums is available to stream and download for the first time ever globally. One of the last multi-platinum selling acts to be made available on streaming and download, Def Leppard's tracks and albums can now be enjoyed by music fans from all corners of the globe.
Objection. I don't care. I like Def Leppard, but
not that much.
I hate Def Leppard. It's a love-hate relationship that's a whole lot more hate than it is love than it is hate.
That pretty much, I think you just described my relationship with Motley Crue.
Pretty much.
There you go. Thank you, Daniel. All right, Howard Stern will induct Bon Jovi into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame this April in Ohio.
Because reasons.
Yeah. And lastly, here for general news, Avenged Sevenfold will skip this year's Grammy Awards in apparent protest of the way the organization treats the rock and heavy metal genres.
Don't spoil the ending or you're fired.
I don't know why I felt that was appropriate.
I don't know. I think it's just because it's J.K. Simmons.
Yeah. At least they've gone out of their way to announce it beforehand.
Yeah.
Thanks for letting us know, guys.
Yeah, I said the day after the Grammys, that we protested that shit.
Yeah, we didn't show up because we protested it. He's like, you weren't invited, asshole. just say it. It's fine.
We weren't gonna be televised anyway. Fuck it.
Yeah, you would have played along with Body Count, the pre-televised, potentially
in the parking lot.
Yeah, in the parking lot.
Before the red carpet even starts.
Yeah.
You're playing to the sound crew who's setting up and trying to tell you to shut up.
Yeah, you're gonna be the house band. Which is a damn shame to say about Body Count, because them just playing at the event in and of itself is kind of fucking awesome.
Yeah.
So it kind of irks me that. All right, go on to Metal Crime. I can't believe it's a fucking thing, and I can't even pull up my Carmen Sandiego clip.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry, but it is definitely a fucking thing. According to Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, former Black Label Society guitarist Nicholas Cantis pleaded guilty on Tuesday, January 16th, to sending sexually explicit messages to a 14-year-old female.
Oh, come on, dude.
Yeah. The 46-year-old musician, who was known as the Evil Twin because of his amazing shredding skills, this is a nickname that Zakk Wylde himself gave him, also solicited sex acts from the teenager, according to the criminal complaint. Cantis pleaded guilty to unlawful conduct, corruption of minors, and endangering the welfare of children. He was ordered by Allegheny County Common Pleas Judge Donna Jo McDaniel to serve 5 years of probation, register for 25 years as a Megan's Law offender, avoid contact with minors, and have no access to internet-capable computers. Cantis was an instructor at the School of Rock in Castle Shannon, Pennsylvania, when he began messaging the teenager via Instagram. The student told police that Cantis sent her pictures of his genitals and asked her for nude images in return. Police said that Cantis also requested sex acts from the girl and described what he wanted to do. He admitted to the messages and videos when interviewed by police. He was arrested on June 15th, court records show.
I saw somebody posted fairly well. Obviously, it's now past the year. That 2016 was like when you see a name trending, it's all about who died. 2017 was all about like okay, you know who's diddling kids and whatnot.
Yeah.
Now 2018 seems to be about both, like all these horrendous sexual acts and people dying. Like this year has not started off very well, and it's just getting
Well,
worse.
at least that son of a bitch who was in the Olympics doctor, he got sentenced to 175 years from the judge, which is on top of the 60 years he already got from the federal judge.
Jesus Christ.
So that motherfucker's dying
So,
in prison.
so fuck that guy. But also, I don't know if you heard about Enzo Amore from.
I heard. I
Yeah.
didn't read the details of it, but I know
Well-
he was released by the WWE, and you know,
Yeah.
pretty much living up to the shtick that he was portraying. If I do say so myself.
Yeah, well, it's a matter of it's one of those things where I guess they wanted to. Normally, they would look more into it, and then like they would wait it out or something like that, and like keep him, like just suspend him. But apparently, he was well aware that he was being investigated. Never told them,
Oh.
and so like within 24 hours after being suspended, they were like, gone.
Well, that's also in light of what's going on with the WWE now. Today, as we record this, Vince McMahon just announced that he's reestablishing the XFL in 2020. We were just watching something on the internet about the possible sale of the WWE to Fox Networks.
Yeah.
You don't want anything like that on your roster if you're trying to make a sale.
I mean, as long as the people who are buying it don't look too far into the WWE's past, they are not.
Well, they're not necessarily their past, but at least their current roster.
Well, I meant just like generally, like they're like, if they're buying the WWE, they might be buying also the tape library. There's a lot of shady shit that the WWE did way back when.
Yeah.
And, a lot of chicks went through tables back then. Bad news all around.
Yeah.
And we're not even done with January yet.
So why don't we get into some good stuff like recording news?
Okay, please make me happy here.
All right, Camelot has set The Shadow Theory as the title of its new album due on April 6th via Napalm Records.
Shadow Theory is also the name of an awesome band that has Devin Graves in it.
Well, there you go.
Yes, so I'm already interested.
So there's a double boner for Daniel right
Yeah,
there.
that's right.
All right, At the Gates.
Double squeeze it to the dome.
Double squeeze it. At the Gates have set To Drink from the Night Itself as the title of their just completed new studio album due on May 18th via Century Media Records. The follow-up to 2014's acclaimed comeback effort At War with Reality was recorded with producer Russ Russell, who has worked with Napalm Death, The Haunted, and Dimmu Borgir at Parlor Studios in the UK.
That's cool. I think I don't mention it too often, just because I'm still working my way into heavier music. But I did listen to some of that album when it came out, and it was good.
Well, they're considered one of the pioneers of melodic death metal, like in that scene. So
I'm pretty sure the singer, at least, formed a band after At the Gates fell apart, called The Great Deceiver. I have that album, and that was pretty fucking fantastic too. So.
all right, friend of the Shred Shack and all-around general and nice lady, Doro Pesh will release her long-awaited new studio album on August 3rd.
Yeah, it's been about 6 years. So.
And we've been talking about her releasing new music for a while. I think
She's been releasing a lot of like she's-
singles, and she released that big live.
Yeah, it
thing.
was a live thing, a 30-year anniversary thing. She's appeared on like a few other people's albums
Yeah.
at different shows and everything.
The
I
Amon
f-
Amarth track that she did, which was fantastic.
I feel like it's been a lot of like celebration, but like now it's time to get back to work.
Yeah, pretty much. Speaking of getting back to work, Symphony X are tentatively scheduled to regroup next month to begin work on material for the follow-up to 2015's Underwhelming album. Sorry.
Hold on, wait, I have a clip for that. I have a clip for that. If I can find it. There we go.
I get it! Shut it, Nappa.
Yeah. Well, the thing is that I think one of the websites I saw, like, because this was news on multiple websites, is that they're calling it a comeback. Like, they didn't really go away. They just made one mediocre album. It's not like really like a comeback.
Yeah, it's not a comeback. Why'd you call it a comeback? God.
Well, LL Cool J said, "Don't call it a comeback." Yeah. Motherfucker. All right. Dimmu Borgir will release their new album, Eonian, on May 4th via Nuclear Blast.
I'm actually excited for that one, just because I like the band. So,
Yeah.
and it's been a while since I've heard anything new from them. I think they've been just released another like live thing, and that's about it. So I'm kind of stoked for that.
All right, next up here. Well, I figures. Next up in the series of Metallica reissues is the 598 EP Garage Days Revisited. Available for pre-order now and in stores on April 13th in time to celebrate Record Store Day. The long out-of-print EP includes 5 songs that were later released as a part of the Garage Inc. double album, but Metallica thought it would be fun to bring them back now in the original format straight from 1987. Keeping with the 80s theme, the remastered EP will not only be released as a CD and download, but also as several vinyl versions, including a picture disc, as a cassette, and in a long box. You youngsters can search the web for that term. That's all copy and paste, by the way. All Metallica.com pre-orders will receive an Instagrat single of the remastered version of The Wait.
Instant gratification.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I do want to point out that this kind of stuff is for fools like us and Pete.
Yeah.
You know, because the people who get all their music digitally, they just don't care. You know, guys like maybe Pat, because I think he doesn't really care about physical stuff. Like, they kind of like shrug their shoulders, and we just go like, I want all the things, and then Metallica's just sitting there like,
Millions of dollars! Millions of dollars! Millions and millions and millions of dollars! Millions of dollars! Millions of dollars!
And the funny thing is that I think the joke that's going around right now is that they're selling it for $8.
I'm sure. I'm willing to bet they're not going to sell it for $5.98.
The $5.98 EP is being sold for $8. It defeats the purpose of the title.
See, here's the problem.
Shut up and take my money.
That's the problem.
But then again, you know, like System of a Down has an album called "Steal This Album" that I bought.
Yeah, but that was at least referencing something.
All right, last bit of recording news here. Good stuff for Dan right here. Amorphous have entered the studio to begin recording their new album due later in the year via Nuclear Blast.
Yes, 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 yes! I can win! I feel great! I can do this! Ugh.
Wow. That was intense.
I'm extremely excited for that because the last album was fucking amazing.
It made your top 3 that
number. If it wasn't for Iron fucking
yeah, I was
Maiden,
gonna say if it wasn't for Iron Maiden, if it wasn't for my horse, I would have spent that year in college. Lewis Black. Fucking corn.
And one side of the brain looks at the other side and says, "It's dark in here."
Oh, that's beautiful.
All right, so let's move on to concert news because I don't have anything for crowdfunding, unfortunately, because I'm lazy. We're going to talk... Oh, there's no festivals, which is surprising, but...
Well, a lot of the lineups have already been announced.
Which-
So...
I mean, we can probably pretty much just make up our own at this point because they all have...
As a matter of fact, that might be a good thing for discussion because there's one of those internet memes out there where it says you have X amount of money and build a festival with this money, and then they give like, you know, these bands are worth like $50, and then these bands are worth $20, and so on and so forth. So then like build your festival with this amount of money with these bands. So that's something that could probably be really, really fun to do.
Could do that.
And then we could put that on the Facebook page and have like other people do it.
Yeah.
too.
Probably make a video out of that.
Probably could.
Yeah. But let's talk about just general touring news.
All right, touring news. Satyricon will return to U.S. shores for the final time this spring. The tour starts May 13th in Los Angeles, California, and runs through May 30th in Austin, Texas, with 2 stops in Canada. Inquisition will provide support on the tour. The run also includes a headline appearance at the Maryland Death Festival.
I'm willing to bet that on May 30th we will not see Pete. He will be in Austin seeing that show. He actually, one of the things that he got from the Pat Gessner Box of Fun was the new Satyricon album. So hopefully he's enjoying that thoroughly.
Good deal.
Oh, and I actually have his other gift up there, which is
The Opeth record?
no, the Opeth record I gave to him because
Oh.
that was his Christmas gift. I got him one for birthday, which is "Sound of Perseverance" by Death. I know, right? He's not gonna listen to this, so I can't ruin the surprise for him.
That's awesome.
He actually accidentally gave me his copy of Sabbath Bloody Sabbath, and I was like, man, this is really way too well kept. This is not mine. And so he still has mine at his place.
Oh.
Yeah, also there's a price tag on his for $40. I was like, I got this for free. What are you talking about?
I want to know, was I there when he bought that one? Because we went to the flea market down the street from your house. And I remember we went to the record store there, and he bought something that was like, oh my god.
Yeah.
I can't remember his Sabbath Bloody Sabbath or not.
I mean, I'm hoping it's like it's legitimately something if it's 40. Just because like that sounds astronomical to me. Even as a single LP. Anyway, next thing.
All right. It's the end of an era here because Slayer will, quote, make its exit with one final world tour, it has been revealed. In addition, they have confirmed that it will hit the road in North America this summer with support from this amazing lineup of Lamb of God, Anthrax, Testament, and Behemoth. The run-up dates have been announced. There is no San Antonio date and no New York date.
Yeah, I know that. Was it you or Pat who posted it?
Pat.
Yeah.
Because I think he's going to be making a trip to PNC.
Huh.
We will have to go to Austin if we want to see it.
Maybe. I think that one thing would be good for you, but also a bummer for you, is I'm sure Behemoth has low billing.
I'm pretty sure they are actually second bill. So it's Testament, Behemoth, Anthrax, Lamb of God, and then Slayer.
And I'm sure that's not exactly the ideal.
That is not the ideal way to see them, no.
No. So, but I do want to see all those bands. Well, Slayer, I can do without seeing again. But although the one time I saw Slayer was at Jones Beach, and it's like, let me just sit down in this band that is not to be enjoyed while sitting down.
Just because I can.
Because I can. Let me put my feet up on this dude's back.
All right. Last bit of touring news here. Def Leppard and Journey will join forces for a massive co-headlining tour of North American stadiums and arenas. The 58-city trek will kick off on May 21st in Hartford, Connecticut.
I'll make mention of this later, so I'm just going to ignore this one for now.
Okay.
So let's go on to heavy metal in the charts. Don't let me down.
All right, well, I'm going to let you down. There's no noteworthy points here, so let's go straight to the Billboard Top 200. There are some surprises here.
Okay.
Black Veil Brides, their new album Veil debuts at number 14. The Cranberries, Stars, which is their best of album from 1992 to 2002, re-enters at number 16.
Spotify for you.
Not much of a surprise there.
Mm-hmm.
Joe Satriani, What Happens Next, debuts at number 42. Five Finger Death Punch, A Decade of Destruction, a title they stole from a t-shirt from The Undertaker, is at number 61 from 53.
Okay.
Corrosion of Conformity, No Cross, No Crown, debuts at 67.
Not bad.
For that band in the top 100 as a debut, it's pretty awesome. And just because it's always there, the Black Album is at 145, down from 144.
So Metallica's Black Album is the only Metallica album left on the top 200?
Yeah.
Oh my god, I feel like I'm getting bent over right here.
Doctor said I need a backiotomy.
Oh my god. Please remind me where that's from.
That's Half-Baked.
Oh, that's it. Oh.
Someone's getting fucked around here. I think it's the fans.
Oh my gosh. All right, so let's go through the top 25 hard rock albums from 25 to 1. Number 25 is 3 Days Grace with their album 1X.
The fuck?
Number 24 is Ty Tabor.
Okay.
His album Alien Beings, I believe, is a new one, so that is that's on there.
Yeah, and that was January 12th. So.
Okay, next up is Pearl Jam 10.
What?
In the number 23 spot.
Did somebody die?
No, but it was just announced that they are playing baseball stadiums, I think. And apparently it's going to be some of the biggest crowds they've ever played to.
Talking about those bands that fly under the radar and yet they can draw a crowd like
They've
nobody's
been like
business.
That forever, though.
I know, but it's just kind of awesome.
Yeah, I mean they have maintained pretty damn well for themselves.
Yeah.
Number 22 is Skillet with their album Unleashed. 21 is Master of Puppets. 20 is Led Zeppelin 4. 19 is Immortalized, Disturbed. Number 18, Meteora, Linkin Park. Number 17, One More Light Live, Linkin Park. Number 16, Experience Hendrix, The Best of Jimi Hendrix by Jimi Hendrix. Number 15, All the Right Reasons, Nickelback. Number 14, Mothership, Led Zeppelin. 13, Greatest Hits, Foo Fighters. 12, Back in Black, AC/DC. 11, Greatest Hits, Bon Jovi. Number 10, Hybrid Theory, Linkin Park. Excuse me. Number 9, From the Fires, Greta Van Fleet.
Still have to figure out.
I gotta figure out who they are because they're all over the place all of a sudden. Number 7 is the Black Album. Number 6, Avatar Country by Avatar.
Oh.
Number 5, Greatest Hits 1, 2, and 3, the Platinum Collection by Queen.
What? What?
Wait,
What?
listen up. All right, because here we go. Number 4, No Cross, No Crown, Corrosion of Deformity.
Okay.
Number 3, A Decade of Destruction by Five Finger Death Punch. It's the only real punch in the face here. Number 2 is What Happens Next by Joe Satriani, and I don't know anything about this band, but they are all over the place. It is Black Veil Brides with their new album Veil at number 1.
It's not bad. I listened to some of it.
I just don't know anything about them.
Like,
They always kind of throw in the same conversation with like Asking Alexandria and all those like
Yeah.
other like, you know, like introductory metal bands for new kids.
well,
you know?
like the bands that have that more emo flair,
Yeah.
that Bullet for My Valentine and
I think the old emo was good. New emo stuff.
yeah, like again, I listen to it, and when I go through the list of stuff that comes out every week, I will copy and paste it, and whatever I like, I'll highlight, and whatever I like most, I'll put stars and highlight it, and whatever I like but like I can do without, I put minuses. This is a minus case,
Nah.
so like it's good enough to warrant another listen, but it's probably not going to retain my attention beyond everything else that's coming out this month. So yeah, I'm not horrendously dismayed. I'm still upset that 1 week Five Finger Death Punch beat out Queen. For that, just fuck you guys. All right, now that I'm horrendously dismayed and crying, let's talk about our discussion, which you have labeled so long and thanks for all the fish.
Yeah.
I would like to go on record that any of the bands we are about to discuss, I have not received any fish from, and therefore it is a lie. But hey, I'm not a bitter person. I'm just,
Restaurant special.
so let's just go.
All right, so we are discussing the impending end for a slew of artists recently announced. So we just recently talked about Slayer coming to an end.
Mm-hmm.
We've also heard about Ozzy. This is his farewell tour with Zakk Wylde. This should be it for him. Also recently announced, Lynyrd Skynyrd is coming to an end. They're going on their last tour.
Mhm.
And just today, Elton John announced that he will be playing 300 shows in the next course of however long it takes to play 300 shows, and that's his farewell Yellow Brick Road tour. So the question is, why now? What could be next for these people, and who is next to walk away?
All right, so also let's not forget that you also mentioned Satyricon doing their
So,
final.
yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah.
Let's look at the older ones first. Elton John, I can understand.
He's 70.
He's 70.
He has 2 kids, relatively young. I think they were born in 2015.
Oh,
I think.
didn't even know that.
Yeah, so he has a relatively young family, and he's a relatively old man.
Yeah, but also touring as you even get older. Like even I'm sure in the last 20, 30 years of his career, like I'm sure touring is not is much more strenuous than it's been. And like you sit there and we're talking about, we're sitting here at the beginning of 2018, and you're telling me there's going to be 300 days. That could be 50 days a year for the next 6 years. So, I mean, I'm sure it's not going to be that, but that can...
There is a San Antonio date for his tour. I think it's in December.
I'm sure the tickets are going to be astronomical, but
Yeah.
if I can get it for a fair price, I would go see that because that's one of my bucket lists.
Yeah, that's a bucket list guy.
Yeah. But again, it's something that it's that time.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that I don't really pay attention to people's reviews of his shows or anything like that. I'm hoping that in the last few years they have been positive. So this may just be that time before he starts to.
His voice
burn.
has definitely lowered more.
Yeah.
That
that was the case in like the 80s into the 90s.
I think it's even now though. Like
Yeah.
I think I recently saw he just recently released a best of collection called Diamonds, and to promote it, he was on the Stephen Colbert show, late night with Stephen Colbert, and he performed the song, and while the rendition was good, it just wasn't what I expected because his voice is that much deeper.
Mhm.
And could I deal with a whole concert of it? I'm not sure.
I'm sure it depends largely on the songs
Yeah.
he picks. So in that case, yeah, it's time. And while we're talking about bands that are stepping away, let's also consider those who are likely to go, fuck it, and then come back, like the Scorpions did. Those guys are
Judas Priest.
Yeah. Well, Judas Priest was. I think Judas Priest was a matter of like, well, you're leaving, so we should quit. No, fuck that shit. So Elton John, I think it's definitely that time, and go out on a high note.
So I was gonna say, what do you think is next for a guy like Elton John?
What I mean,
these guys never stay low key.
Mhm.
What is he gonna do next? I know he has. I'm pretty sure he has a movie production company, which is where Romeo and Juliet comes from,
Yeah.
and I know that sequel's coming out relatively soon.
I'm sure he's just going to stick to behind the scenes stuff for the most part. He'll appear for what he has to appear for,
Uh-huh.
but like as far as his involvement in things, I'm sure he'd stick behind the scenes.
Yeah.
So, Leonard Skinner, I don't like I've never been that big of a fan of Leonard Skinner. So I it's going to sound terrible, but I don't really care if they pack it in now.
The fact of the matter is, I didn't even know they were that relevant still.
Yeah. I know that I've seen them tour here and there over the
I
last
always
few years.
thought they were that nostalgia act.
Yeah.
That always tours during the summer. Like we're talking like every summer, there's always a Journey tour. There's always a Def Leppard tour.
And guess who's not leaving the scene anytime soon? Def Leppard.
We can talk about that later.
That was the point.
We can talk about that later. But like I said, I just wasn't aware that they were that relevant.
Uh-huh.
But the tour does sound kind of fun because at each stop, or at least several different stops, they're going to have different opening acts playing with them. So you got acts like Kid Rock, Hank Williams Jr., Charlie Daniels Band, Bad Company, Marshall Tucker Band, 38 Special, Blackberry Smoke, and Blackfoot, all classic rock bands or classic style rock bands
Yeah.
playing with them. So it sounds like it could be a lot of fun to go to,
Mhm.
but it's just, it's like one of those things like, you haven't packed it in yet? Really?
Yeah. I can't really have any emotion here either way. And that's just down to personal opinion on the band. Like I like the songs that I know,
Yeah.
but like I'm not gonna. They're not a band I would go out of my way to see.
And the thing is, like, these guys have been releasing albums as well over the course of the years. The thing is, I can't name a single one.
No.
I know of like one track that was released like 20 years ago, maybe. Like, I don't know if any of their fans actually follow them up like that. I always associate them with the nostalgia act. Like they haven't released anything since 1977, and that's what they're playing.
Well, that's part of the issue I feel with a lot of general music fans as they get older, and I'm starting to see it in myself a lot too. Is that again, it is hard to keep up with everything that's coming out, and like. Take all the bands that I like, all the metal bands and everything. I'll talk to people and they'll be like, "Yeah, I saw them back in '82," and it's like, "Yeah, well, they got a new album coming out." Like, what? Haven't followed them since 1990. It's like, I was like, dude, you're killing me here.
Yeah.
Like, then who's going to see these shows? Who's buying the fucking albums?
Like
man?
a lot of people.
Yeah.
They sell out every time.
I know, but it's like, I don't know. It's something. It's something that I fear is going to happen to me in the next 10 years. So.
Well, do you get tired during the day? Because I can relate to this.
I don't generally fear aging. I fear what comes with it.
You fear becoming a curmudgeon.
Yeah, well, I've been a curmudgeon since I was like 21. So.
I think we can go beyond, like way before that, buddy.
Yeah,
I lived with you for a
I
long
was,
time.
I was a grumpy old fuck at age 15. So.
Pretty much, yeah.
yeah. So.
Yeah, 15 going on 40 over here.
It's just I fear being that level of oblivious, unfortunately. Especially considering that, like, listening to music and the scene and everything is my passion, and is suddenly being out of my passion. So that's what I fear. Speaking of long-running things that people probably haven't seen since 1985 but don't realize it's still running, Ozzy Osbourne.
Well, the thing is, I don't know if, like, there's always like a certain amount of fanfare whenever he releases a record.
Because it's interesting that he's still going.
And I don't know. I mean, it's just always something about it's well publicized that he's recording or he's in the studio or he's, releasing an album. It's always well publicized that he's doing something. It's not like he just kind of flies on the radar. Like, Def Leppard could release 5 albums last year. Who the fuck knows?
Yeah.
When Ozzy releases a record, it's almost on the level of Metallica releasing a record. Like, it's almost an event.
Well, it might be because of expectation. Because with Metallica, you're looking at their past few years, their past 15, 20 years, and saying, I wonder what this is going to sound like. I wonder what this is going to be. Am I actually going to like it? Is it going to sound like this? With Ozzy, you have that same, like, you have that huge gap between albums. You know how his sound, his voice is kind of degrading over time and everything like that. You have an expectation. Is this going to sound any good? Oh, he has this guy back in the band. How's that going to affect things?
Yeah.
Because like you've seen albums where Zach's on the album, but he necessarily didn't write everything,
Yeah.
so it doesn't sound like that. Is he going to write everything? Like, you want to know what's the product. So like after listening to like Black Rain and then going into Scream, like, knowing that there's a new guitar player, Youngblood in there, like, what's that going to sound like? That sounds like something you want to get excited for. Now you got this going on. Zach Wild's back in the band. How much is that going to influence the thing?
Yeah.
And how does Ozzy going to sound? Obviously, there's studio magic that you can do.
Well, the thing is, I think the thing is that Ozzy this is his final tour. I don't know if he's going to stop recording albums. To see that's what a lot of these things are. There's a lot of farewell tours. Like, there's no saying that these people aren't going to be continuing to make music. The only people who have actually said that is Rush. They said, we are done. We are not touring. We have no plans to make new music. We are done. A lot of these bands, even Motley Crue, they said they are done touring. But there's always a possibility that those sons of bitches could get together and release a new album. Same thing with Black Sabbath. That's always a topic of conversation.
Well, I'd be okay with some of these bands continuing on musically. I mean, I think Ozzy should just call it a day.
I think he should have called it a day 10 years ago, maybe more.
Well, the last Black Sabbath album was good.
I don't know, but the thing is, like, at least performing wise,
Yeah.
like live wise. I mean, the last time I saw Ozzy was probably 15 years ago, and then it wasn't good.
Yeah.
He was this headliner on the second stage at his own fucking festival. That's rough, as far as I'm concerned.
But I feel like if you're gonna finish off touring, I feel like you should just also finish off like making albums. Unless, of course, we're talking about Black Sabbath, in which case, like, they're talking about potentially working with Tony Martin, or at least Iommi is.
Yeah.
If you're talking about doing that under the Black Sabbath name,
I highly doubt they'll do that.
no, I doubt it too.
I don't think Shannon will let that happen.
I'm sure they would come out with the new Black Sabbath titled Eternal Idol, and then carry on from there.
Yeah. Sharon, by the way, I said Shannon by mistake.
But I feel like if you're gonna finish the tour, if you're an aged musician, you're gonna finish touring, just let it lie right there.
There's no problem. There's nothing wrong with being a session guy.
No.
Like, how much would someone die to have Tony Iommi on their fucking record?
Oh yeah.
You know?
Or don't even necessarily release albums. You can release a song every so often.
Yeah, it's a single. I mean, that's where everything's kind of going towards anyway right now.
Well, apparently, if what I've heard is actually true, Weird Al Yankovic, I don't think he plans to release full albums anymore. He plans to release one-off tracks on YouTube, on Vivo, on Spotify, and those become his new material. And he's released, I know of one track in particular, which is Pac-Man, which is a parody of Taxman by the Beatles. So that was just a one-off thing that just appeared a few months ago. He does that.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that. Like, he still tours. His current tour, which I would love to see, is him just playing all the stuff that he's really never played live. And mostly original and acoustic, I think. But, he doesn't have to release full albums anymore. He doesn't have to live up to any sort of, like, obligation. Just release a track every so often. If Elton John just sitting at home and he rattles off a 3.5-minute song, record it, put it up online. People will listen to it. Don't sit there and think you're obliged to make a new album. So, especially if you have a storied career, you are a legend, a living legend like him, like Ozzy, and like that. You don't have to feel obliged to make new music. I,
All right. Well, now let's get into like more of our generation here. Slayer calling it a career. Are you surprised? Number one.
yes and no. I don't know how to really start the argument here, because again, they've kind of had like they've kind of hit a territory in their career that is rough ground. Like they're hit that point where everything they do is gonna make everyone squee and everyone get pissed off. Like they're in that middle ground where you can't do anything right to please everybody. So you just kind of drift through it. But I don't feel like there's anything more for them to really do. They haven't really progressed very much
You think
musically.
they've reached a plateau?
Yeah,
after
I mean,
35
like,
years?
there's. I feel like they've done everything they can do. They've influenced the sound immensely. You know, they've brought a lot of the younger bands out on tour. They've helped build up a lot of bands. I'm pretty sure that even from behind the scenes, Kerry King still helps in a way to do a lot of that stuff since he's all entrepreneurial and whatnot. But I feel like they've done their part. They can back away and let their career, end here.
So do you think that this would be like the door opening to other bands calling it a day? You know, we're talking about they're one of the big four. Do you see in the next like year or two Megadeth stepping away?
No.
Anthrax stepping away? Obviously not Metallica because they're too much of a money train.
Make
But-
it Dallas. Make it Dallas. No. I don't see. I think Megadeth has another 3 years in them at least.
I know they definitely have one more record in them for sure.
I don't think this next one's going to be the last. The one after it might be. You know, that would.
Well, we're right now in the Dave Mustaine peak. We still have to go through one more valley, and then another peak, so he can go out on top. Because that's how his albums go. There's a peak, there's a valley. There's a peak, there's a valley.
I think we already hit the valley with Super Collider, and we should just do a 1, 2, 3 of awesome records. Dystopia into the next one, and hopefully end on a very positive note. I don't see Dave packing it in for another like 3 years at least. Figure this next coming album, touring cycle, and then maybe the last album, and that's when they'll call it. Anthrax, I feel like the band has a lot more piss and vinegar than the rest of their cohorts.
Also, for some reason, they just feel like they're younger.
Yeah, they are roughly the same age, but they feel like the younger band.
Like there's just some energy about them that they just feel like they can go on forever.
Yeah. But with them though, I feel like they might hold off a while on the next album, and then maybe the one after that they'll end it. So because I feel like there's a lot of space between their albums.
Yeah.
Because they're usually just touring and kicking that ass.
Yeah.
So I feel like there will be more time for them, but the amount of output that they have will be less. It'll probably be the same amount as like my call for Megadeth. So, but yeah.
Do you ever see Metallica packing it in before one of them dies?
Depends on who we're talking about dying.
Let's just say Lars passed away. Do you think they would continue?
No.
Or do you think they'd be still going when that point to reach that point?
I think they'd be still going for a long time. I think it's definitely going to be a matter of one of the members either becomes incapacitated or dies. As far as more specifically Lars or James.
Yeah, I mean,
So-
obviously the driving force of the band,
Yeah.
especially James.
I mean, despite the fact that Kirk Hammett has been in the band for however long, I feel like they would, like if approaching the end of the career he died first, I feel like they would pull out one last album and they would have somebody else play in his place.
Yeah,
So, but there's no really, because of the Metallica, like they can. I
Do
feel
you
like
think Metallica's going to reach that level of like the Rolling Stones, where they're playing into like they're well past their 60s into their 70s?
I hope not, because James's voice can't handle that.
I just don't think they can keep the speed either.
No,
I mean,
which
that's,
which what I was about to say. Like, I feel like they would change the set list to accommodate, the aging process, and they'd probably stay a little bit further away from the faster stuff, or find a way to bring it down a step. So,
which is just not their live act to begin with. I mean, they're a live band.
yeah,
If their live act starts to suffer, I can see them stepping away.
yeah. But the thing is, would they be willing to admit that? Part of the problem.
That's part of the
Part
problem,
of the problem
with
with
some of these bands.
somebody like Ozzy,
Yeah.
where you're like, everyone and their mother says he kind of sounds like shit now. Doesn't mean it stopped them for the last 15 years
Yeah.
plus. So I'm trying to think of who else did AC/DC mention that
They have not officially confirmed that they're done, especially after the passing of
Malcolm
Malcolm
Young? Yeah,
and Brian Johnson being kind of incapacitated.
yeah,
They have not officially come to an end.
yeah.
So they're still there. What I'm also thinking about is like younger bands that are calling it quits. Dillinger Escape Plan just recently played their last show ever, apparently.
With younger bands, like them calling it quits, I'm okay with, because a lot of times in, let's say the last 20 years or so, when they separate, they come back years later. And it's just a matter of like, okay, we've done our part for now, we'll feel it out later on. And that's talking about all these reunions that we were just talking about. At the Gates, I just mentioned them all in my top 3 video. At the Gates, Galactic Cowboys, Soundgarden, Faith No More. They can take their separation, go do what they got to do, and when they come back together, they are older, wiser, and hopefully more capable.
Do you think that also part of the part of the reasoning behind some of these farewells is business?
As
far as it's not feasible to continue doing what they're doing and make a living.
well, that's
Now,
always,
we're not talking about the big bands. We're not talking about like Elton John. We're talking about like Dillinger Escape Plan. God forbid, called it quits
Yeah.
a little while ago. Bands like that.
I don't know, honestly. 'Cause I can't think of any band that has necessarily said like we can't really afford to kick
Some I think some of the lesser known bands have said like this is just not feasible.
Like, if you're a band, like, you've got 1,000 likes on Facebook, you're one of those really small bands, and you're trying to tour the country, and you're like, I have no money to do this. It's like, well, no duh. You have to have some sort of funding from somewhere. Unless you're gonna hit the lottery or have a parent fund your entire tour. I guess from those bands, you have to be able to find a good balance between what you do beyond music and your band. Perfect case in point, Monkey Suit.
Right.
Our friends in Monkey Suit. The band has been a band for 12 to 15 years now. They are the main 2 members are self-employed. They have multiple jobs. They do multiple things to bring in the money. When they get enough money, they go out on tour. That's their way of going out and doing it. They do some nice extensive tours for a band of their size and stature. Like, they go out 15-day tours all across up and down the United States, come back home, stay 2 weeks, come right back out again. And that's because they just keep funding the passion. I don't see why it couldn't work out for a lot of other bands, but then again, I don't know other people's situations. I don't know what it's like to live in other places. Take a look at anybody who lives in New York and has to pay those exorbitant property taxes and general expensive life out there. I cannot imagine how any band can tour beyond the tri-state area. But again, I don't know situations. So it being bands being financially unsound is not a surprising thing, but I feel like it's not necessarily a more common reasoning behind it.
Yeah.
It may be like a catalyst for something. It may be like, I want to get out there and get more well known. Well, we can't because we don't have any money, and then it just kind of causes some infighting. You know, I can see that being more of a symptom than the main problem. So,
Gotcha.
yeah.
So, who do you think will be the next group of bands that would come to an end? I mean, we talked about Metallica, but we got Iron Maiden's well into their 50s now.
If all stays cordial with Guns N' Roses, Guns N' Roses. I think they will take this opportunity to go out on top.
Well, they already played for almost 2 years without incident.
Exactly.
Do you think that it will be a last album with the original lineup, quote unquote here, because it's only really Duff, Axl, and Slash?
No.
So you don't think they're going to record one last album and then go out on tour for that for 2 or 3 years?
There's no point. B, that's a arduous process, and since we're talking about keeping things cordial, writing an album with the fact that it took Axl Rose 6+ years, more than that, to do Chinese Democracy.
That was like almost a 15-year thing. That was the running joke.
Well, I'm thinking of the time between like when he came out for Rock in Rio, unveiled some songs, into finally releasing Chinese Democracy. But considering that entire process and the fact that there's already enough, although the tour went off well enough, I'm sure there are still some wounds, and I'm sure that in a case like that where creative ideas are coming together, it would not go well.
So do you think maybe that they might continue just as like that nostalgia band for a little while?
No.
No? Do you think that they had their massive world tour and they're pretty much
they had a massive world tour. They're done. They'll do their separate things for a little while. They'll come back together and they should do a final tour. And that should be it. They don't want to don't spoil don't spoil a good thing.
Don't spoil what you worked 20 years to get to.
Yeah,
pretty much.
Yeah, exactly. You guys did well. You silenced me, and I'm a.
I was gonna say you're choking on both feet on that one.
Yeah,
boss.
yeah. Seriously, I'm clipping toenails with my tonsils at this point. So.
Yeah.
so.
Well, I mean, we're also talking about bands like the Rolling Stones just never seem to come to an end. I mean, is there a band out there right now that can reach that level of longevity?
A metal band?
A metal band?
No. Metal, I feel like is too
physically demanding.
Might be, because I can. If I didn't know any better, I could say that for Iron Maiden. But I know that every member of the band is leaning towards that, like starting off with Adrian Smith. Like he's already said, like, yeah, I've got like 5 years left, and that was like 4 years ago.
Yeah.
So
I know Nickel McBrain's been saying the same thing.
Yeah, and with him, like, I'm sure after a little while, because of the way the style he plays in, I'm sure his feet may not necessarily be able to do it much further on, despite having years of practice and everything. Dickinson's only going to be able to perform as good for a little while longer. And this is not me saying this to knock any of these gentlemen, especially Bruce Dickinson, who is obviously well fit enough to be.
And he actually sounds better after having tongue cancer.
Yeah. But like, if it were a matter of these guys if they were more into it in that regard, and it was more of like a just do it because you do it, I could see Iron Maiden going that distance. I could even possibly see Metallica going that distance.
What about Judas Priest? Do you think that this album that's coming out right now,
No.
Firepower, do you think this will be their last one?
No.
Do you think they still got some left in them?
No, I think they're still going to go for at least one more after this one.
So Firepower, Touring Cycle, one more record, final tour.
Yeah.
Real final tour.
I'd say that's a possibility. Because figure, what was the last one called?
Redeemer of Souls.
Redeemer of Souls. That was like what, 3-4 years ago?
Something like that.
Touring the album and touring cycle is a long ass time.
Yeah.
Figure we're hitting the new album now, tour for a year and a half, take time off, record the next album. You're hitting the next tour cycle and everything in 3-4 years. That would probably be the time.
Hawker's got to be pushing 60 something by now.
But his voice still sounds.
Does it sound good off record though? Does it sound good live?
Yeah.
Does it? I haven't heard anything. I haven't seen them live in 15 years. So
He's one of those guys who has taken. Oh yeah, sorry. He's one of those guys who doesn't need to take care of his voice. Actually, he just is able to do it, and I think he's stated his own surprise at his natural ability. I'm sure he'd be the first to sit there and recognize when he's starting to fail, and say, "Okay, well, it's time to go." We know that one guitar player is now a younger guy, so therefore he can go.
and if there's anything that we can all hold candle to, or like use as a benchmark, is Lemmy was still doing it at 70.
Yeah, even with health problems.
Even with his
thing,
health
the
issues.
thing with Lemmy though is that even if his voice were going, you wouldn't know. You wouldn't know.
The thing is, he was still able to keep up with the rigors of touring
Oh yeah.
and the rigors of performing. Like it wasn't like he was performing like a night here, a night there. He was on tour for a while and keeping up with his his lifestyle of sex, drugs, and rock and roll up into 70 years old. So I mean, if anyone wants to use that as a benchmark, it's like, all right, we gotta live up to that.
Yeah.
We gotta make it as far as Lemmy did.
Yeah.
Because they were, and even when Lemmy was ill, there was still no mention of ever packing it in. I mean, I think it was like, Lemmy will die on stage. That was it.
Trying to think of anybody else who would one day.
Here's a question for you: if Ronnie James Dio didn't have cancer and passed away several years ago, how long do you think he would have gone? Because he was into his 60s by the time he passed away. Yeah.
Yeah, he would have continued on until he died of something else. So
Fuck you, cancer.
it would have just been reset, restart, and he would have kept on going.
Where's
again,
the save point?
Even his voice, since we were talking about Elton John before, getting deeper, his voice got much deeper as time went on.
Yes, it did. The thing is, I think for a certain purpose, it actually sounded better for his style of music, obviously. Because then, when he was with Heaven and Hell, Black Sabbath, whatever, his deeper voice matched Tony Iommi's deeper guitar tones. And it matched really well.
Yeah.
Elton John's still trying to play Benny and the Jets.
Yeah. But and there were some things that like the Dio was able to pull off towards the end of his life that like the yell, the scream in the beginning of Mob Rules. Like I haven't heard him do that in like ever.
Yeah.
So those kind of things, he can still pull out some surprises, but like he was accommodating his voice, but he could still sound good. Perhaps not as good as his studio versions. Perhaps not as good as when he was in his younger days, but he still had it. I think he would have still had it until the other element came along, which whatever that would have been. So he's another one who's a lifer.
Alice Cooper.
Alice Cooper will. That's
Tough one.
See, the thing is, that's a case where I'm sure a little bit of age will lend itself to his voice, and he isn't the most active person on stage.
No.
So he can get up there and do his shtick and not necessarily seem like he's struggling.
And the thing about it is that he has such a wide range of sound in his catalog that he can compensate.
Yeah.
To make a great show. You may not hear what you want to hear, but the thing is he's doing what he can.
Yeah.
But
But even then, like he's never really had his voice has changed very little over time. Because he can still do all the stuff that he did. Like you can still hear him when he's doing the not doing gritty stuff. He's probably not going to try to hit any high notes, which doesn't happen very often at all.
Yeah.
So he's still going to sound as good. And last time I saw him a few years ago, which I think he opened for Maiden, or was that Heaven and Hell? I think it's Heaven and Hell. Something like that. I saw him a couple years ago. He was when he had Orianthi in the band. Still sounds fucking amazing. So he's not one I see packing it in. So, I think he'd be one of those guys who might release an album after he finishes touring, though. Just because.
just to keep on making music.
Yeah.
And plus, he's been watching the documentary on Netflix, Hired Gun.
Yeah.
He's kind of like a hotbed for new talent.
Oh yeah.
If you got into Alice Cooper's band, you kind of like made it, and then that opens opportunities for other projects.
Yeah, well, just talking about what I'm aware of his last three. I don't know if he's got a new one since. But Damon Johnson. Damon Johnson was in Brother Kane. Not sure where he was in between them, but joined up with Alice Cooper's band, and then was asked to join the Black Star Riders. And it was one of those things where it's like, okay, these guys are Thin Lizzy. They are my favorite band. Tell me what you think, Alice. And he said, get the fuck out and go.
I mean, one of the guys that was in Alice Cooper's band is Jason Hook,
Yeah.
who's from Five Finger Death Punch, and that's pretty much exactly what happened. I mean,
Yeah.
Jason Hook had the opportunity to hook up with Five Finger Death Punch. Alice Cooper was like, "Well, I got what I needed out of you. You do what you do, you buddy.
Yeah,
You go."
and that's been the case with like even the artists that were already fairly established beforehand. They just got an extra boost.
Yeah.
So you're talking about Orianthe, you're talking about Nita
Nita
Strauss.
Strauss, yeah.
So they just got that little extra push that they were already building towards that. It was just kind of like an extra like double time, get up there.
Yeah.
So it's definitely great what he does, and I hope that he can do it at least for one or two more people before he.
Yeah, always
decides.
a great opportunity. Almost the same thing as Ozzy. I know Ozzy's revolving door really kind of revolves around Zakk Wylde, other guitarist, Zakk Wylde, other guitarist, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But did anybody like? I think Gus G got such a push, like, and his band Firewind, all his solo projects got such a big push by being in Ozzy's band.
Yeah.
That it'd be kind of sad to lose that kind of opportunity
And
for some people.
and he already had his established, fans because aside from Firewind, he was the original guitar player for Dream Evil.
Right. But now we're talking about like American fans.
Yeah,
so.
now we're talking about like there's a more commercialized acknowledgement.
Yeah.
And definitely helped him out a lot. So
So here's a question. What about like prolific lifers who just do everything with like
Mike
how-
Patton.
Mike Patton, Mike Portnoy, Phil Anselmo. Like, how long do you think that those guys are going to be able to do anything? I think for as much as like Phil Anselmo can be like as polarizing as he can be, the motherfucker's prolific as shit, and I can't see him finishing off anytime soon.
Yeah.
And I also see him like if he stops singing, like if it's finally his voice just goes out.
Yeah. He's gonna play instruments.
He's gonna play instruments.
He's
He's a
gonna
good guitarist.
He's gonna play instruments. He's gonna be a producer.
He's gonna be a producer.
Yeah.
I mean, I can see Phil Anselmo going forever.
Yeah. For as much grief as I may want to give to the man, just for a plethora of reasons, he does do a lot for his scene, for sure. And he will continue to do so until he dies. No doubt about it. With Mike Portnoy, I'm pretty sure I heard him pack it in once Rush gave up.
He's just gonna go home and sulk in a corner.
Yeah. He said, I can no longer play that, and then the Charlie Brown song came on. The sad walking away music from the Incredible Hulk.
Yes.
Mike Patton will make projects till the end of days. For that, I can say that. Devin Townsend.
Ooh, that's another one.
Devin Townsend will make music until the end of days. These are the kind of guys who don't.
Do you see them shifting gears as they get older, quote unquote? Do you think they're going to change their style of music to kind of suit them better in their older age?
Look at the three we just talked about. Four we just talked about. We're talking about Devin Townsend. We're talking about Phil Anselmo. We're talking about Mike Portnoy. We're talking about Mike Patton. Did I say Mike Patton already?
You know.
Okay. We're talking about those four guys. Look at their catalogs. They are so eclectic already. They
True.
can do whatever the living shit they want. Especially Devin Townsend. He's already hit all levels of the spectrum. Mike Portnoy already can do whatever the hell he wants.
Yeah.
Mike Patton gets a little bit on the weird side, but that lends itself to whatever the fuck you want. It gets crazy. You can just sit there and make noise, and that's Vantamas, So he will always have things to do. And
Phil Anselmo.
Phil Anselmo again. He plays. You said he's a good guitar player. He's been in a lot of sludgy bands. I don't know enough of his stuff here, but
Well, I mean, we're talking about like he's in Scour. You got Superjoint. You got Phil Anselmo and the Illegals. There's like 2 or 3 other projects in there. The one that he just recently did with the guy from the Devil's Rejects. I mean, this guy just has a lot of projects going on. And the thing is, I think the older he gets, which is oddly enough, the more extreme he gets. Like he's doing like I said, Scour is a more extreme metal band than Pantera was. Pantera was more of a groove metal band. That was a completely different thing, you know. And I think the progression of his music is like going more extreme. Is like how long can he maintain that, you know, before he has to become like, you know, Big Papa Phil, and just kind of like nurture these other younger bands to kind of take him over.
Why'd you have to fucking say that? So now they're thinking about Scott fucking Steiner. I hate you so much.
No, you don't.
This fat son of a bitch.
Big Papa Phil. That's gonna be new. We need a clip for Big Papa Phil.
You got a 33 and a third chance. I fucking hate you.
Big Papa Phil.
Okay. Here's one I just, because I'm looking at my CDs over here trying to get ideas here. Speaking of bands that will likely never call it a day until one of the main two guys dies is Queen. I think even then, if Roger Taylor dies, Brian May's continuing that shit on by himself.
For sure.
I know that for sure.
For sure. I think that's a band that every single member has to die before the band is dead.
Well, technically no, because John Deacon will probably outlive all the rest of them, and he's like,
Right.
So you want to join the band on the tour?
But do you ever see a band? Let's talk about Kiss. And I've always said that I envision Kiss being a band or a name that outlasts its members. I can see the band Kiss continuing on as Kiss with 0 original members of the band, but just continuing on as a franchise, just like a symphony orchestra. A symphony orchestra never has the same members forever, and it doesn't come to an end because because the lead violinist left.
Yeah,
I can see Kiss being that brand that lives forever with new members. They can go on for 100 years. I might be talking straight out of my ass, but is that a possibility for something like that?
For Kiss, yes, absolutely for Kiss.
I'm also thinking about the Allman Brothers Band, because recently Greg Allman passed away last year in 2017. The last Allman brother, I mean, Dwayne died long ago, whatever, and the band itself has such a rotating cast of characters that can the name the Allman Brothers Band live on without a member of the Allman Brothers?
I don't see why not.
I mean, they've always had legacies playing. I mean, Derek Trucks has been in the band. They've always had Warren Haynes in the band. You know, can it continue on as a franchise?
I don't see why not, but I don't think they would. I think they would do as Thin Lizzy did with Black Star Riders, and
be Thin Lizzy, but not Thin Lizzy.
Yeah, obviously with the two brothers there, like two brothers gone. I mean, make a whole new band with, you know, some name that sounds like a tribute band, basically. You
right.
know, like Eat a Peach. There you go. That's your tribute. That's your tribute band's name.
Yeah.
Although I'm sure, for the sake of name recognition and being able to do March Madness, they might just keep it. I mean, it's called the Allman Brothers Band. They may be gone, but here's their band.
Like I don't think it's ever happened before, because I think the bands that we're talking about, they've just been continuing on as they have been. But like, when does a point does a band like reach like the level of like a sports team where it's just a franchise? It's like, you know, it's just something that continues on forever with new members every so often. You know, you draft a guitar player, all of a sudden he's the new star man.
I would say in a couple of years, let's ask TSO.
I mean, that's another thing. I mean, the Trans-Siberian Orchestra has obviously continued.
Yes.
And it will continue.
It'll
and the
likely
thing is, there's two separate bands of the same thing.
Yes.
I mean, I could see that being
a thing,
something that happens for Kiss
for decades.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or even like any of these other bands, and they could continue to make new music as Kiss with that name. You know, I've always envisioned this.
That's good. I can with Kiss in particular, I can see that happen.
Yeah.
Put Matt Barlow in Paul Stanley's place.
Whoa. Whoa. Whoa.
You know.
Wait a minute.
You know there's the similarities there.
Fuck. The best thing is that he could do all the parts. We could get rid of Gene Simmons too.
Yeah.
Damn it.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Cause come on, you know that's
The Ice Earth version of God of Thunder alone.
Yeah.
I mean, damn.
Yeah. just throwing that one out there.
Fucking hell.
Yeah. You're welcome.
I'm gonna be thinking about that all night now.
Yeah. Yeah. There are some artists I think should be getting close to calling it in, but
Well, we went to the Kiss farewell tour in 2000. Remember that?
Yeah,
It's
we
almost
did.
20 years ago now.
yeah,
That was their farewell.
Yeah, that was 17 and a half years ago. That was a farewell tour.
I think they'd have been longer after the farewell than they were up to the farewell.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah, there have been bands that have formed and broke up in the farewell period of Kiss.
This is the longest farewell ever.
Seriously, we're just really slow waving that shit.
Yep.
like they're waiting for the boat to leave the dock and they're just having problems, so they're just kind of sitting there like, are we done yet?
Can we stop waving? Are people still listening to us?
Except for Gene Simmons, who's sitting there going, making it rain.
Well, the thing is, like, when you think about it, like, a band like Kiss is one of those multi-generational bands.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, we're talking about, like, let's just say our fathers, us, our kids.
Here's the thing I feel about Kiss, though. I'd say that from the initial fans, however old they may have been in the 70s, every subsequent generation who is a Kiss fan had it forced on them. 80% of them had it forced on them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, those dads who are a little bit too crazy about Kiss, forcing on their 5-year-old kids who sit there and,
Yeah, Dad.
go on about how much they love it too, and then, it sticks with them, and then they force it onto their kids. It's like, I'm pretty sure, like, when I got into Kiss, our dad was just kind of like, the fuck?
Really?
Oh, that's great, they suck.
That was one thing I was very happy about our father, is that he never forced his opinions of music on us. I say of music on us, but he was never he would tell us his opinion of things, but he would never stop us from listening to things, except for hip hop. He was not having that.
Yeah, there are some things that like I would listen to, and he just cringe. Like, what are you doing? I listened to this when I was such and such and such and such. It's like, yeah, well,
I put him on the spot because the only reason I know of Led Zeppelin is because of that double disc best of collection that he had that we listened to endlessly.
by we you mean you? And
Yes.
I just went, dude, can we stop now?
No. No.
It's like, oh, Dad's gone to work. Let me put this in and blast it all the way up.
You know it. It was the best record ever. Until I got all the other ones.
Yeah, well, until you bought that box set.
Yeah.
Got a little off topic there.
No, well, yeah. The thing is, why don't we talk about, if you feel like it, we talked about Kiss being on Farewell Forever. Are there bands that should pack it in, that have been just extending their stay just a little too long?
Since I'm looking right at it, Van Halen. They need to stop switching up singers and everything. Just pick one thing, go, and be done.
Well, the fact of the matter is that their last tour with and last album with David Lee Roth was when I first moved down here. That was like 6 years ago, almost 7 now. And there's been not a peep from that camp since then. Like
Eddie Van Halen appears from time to time, not
but the thing
necessarily
is,
doing
but not
anything.
in a Van Halen capacity.
No.
He appears as Eddie Van Halen guitar player.
So if they were to just say like, hey, by the way, that thing from 6 years ago, that was it, we're done, I'd be okay with that.
I mean, you wouldn't be surprised because the record wasn't horrible. You know, the tour was apparently a success for the most part.
Except for that one video I saw of David Lee Roth humping this gigantic inflatable microphone. That was disgusting.
Well, that and the fact that I think he also caught a microphone to the face at one point, broke his nose. So there's that.
I need more of that in my life. Put it in slow motion.
Well, here's one that we haven't talked about yet, who's still kicking around.
Is it Aerosmith?
No, I wasn't thinking about them, but that's another one. The Who. You still got Roger Daltrey. You
No.
still got Peter Townsend out there.
I have not heard a good thing about Roger Daltrey singing live in over 15 years.
Well, the thing is, like, when they did the halftime show at the Super Bowl, I think that was almost 10 years ago. It was kind of rough.
Yeah.
Kind of rough.
Again, I don't care enough about the Who. That's part of my issue here. Is like I think that they could have packed it in after Keith
Oh,
Moon
here's
died.
here's a guy, not a metal guy, but rock guys obviously appreciate him. That will go on till the day he dies, and that's the boss, Bruce Springsteen. That motherfucker, number one, doesn't look like he's aged since 1980. But from what I understand, from what I've heard, his shows are still to this day like events. Like they're like the most exciting thing that could possibly happen to you in your life.
And it wouldn't surprise me.
So it's like he's just one of those guys that again will go on until he's.
As long as you can still do it and do it well, carry on. And Bruce Springsteen, I feel like someone like him with his singing style for some of his songs, age will lend itself well to his music. Maybe not necessarily songs like Born to Run. I'm sure Born in the USA sounds pretty badass with this kind of more gritty sound to it. But that's one where I don't really see an end until he's hitting that 70, 75 age, and if he can still get up there and do it.
Well, how about bands that like are really just going for the nostalgia thing, like Poison? Like they haven't released a new record in how long?
When did Poison come out? Like 85? They should have packed it in 84. That's mean. I actually do like some Poison songs. Native Tongue is sorely underrated.
But I'm thinking of a band who constantly tours,
Well,
but with no new material.
Let's that pretty much takes you to all the 80s bands. So we're talking about like, okay, I can't say Styx anymore because they did release a new album. So take that out.
Journey.
Journey releases albums every couple of years.
Do they really?
I think they released one a few years ago.
Oh.
It's just it's the case of like no one knows that though. Like the very few people really are attuned to their newer material. They go there to see the old stuff, and that's it. They'll play a new song, and then you got I don't have to I can't get the clip ready in time, but it's that
The Crickets.
No. It's
Oh.
you know what I'm talking
No,
about.
I know what you're talking about.
Let me see if I can find it real quick. I have so many Simpsons clips. I don't even know where they are anymore. Jesus Christ. Anyway, I'll find it later on.
Yeah.
But like when they go to play a new song, nobody knows it, and then it just kind of.
No new crap.
There we go. There it is.
No talking, no new crap. Taking care of business now.
There you go.
And that was Bachman Turner Overdrive.
Yeah.
On that episode. So,
Get to the working overtime part.
Yeah. So it's. I would still love to see Styx live, but I know that they still charge an exorbitant amount, exorbitant in my eyes, for the band to see. So, they're not worth it to me. But I'm glad they're still going because they are a good band. Who else was there? Obviously, we're talking about Poison.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad that Motley Crue decided to call it there because Vince Neil is not good live. I've already said that on so many occasions. Let's see what else. I got a good question here, actually.
Okay.
Since we're talking about Slayer still, past their musical and physical prime, but not necessarily seemingly old enough or decrepit enough to really be calling it in. What about a lot of those bands that have been around for that long that are still going? So we're talking about like Sepultura, talking about Cannibal Corpse. These guys, these older thrash metal, death metal groups.
With like the extreme style of music, how
Yeah.
long do you think they can go?
Yeah, and I don't want to say like Cannibal Corpse is necessarily old. They started in the early '90s, but we're getting to that point that's almost 30 years ago.
And we're thinking about the type of music and the physicality that it takes to play this type of music. And I think it's even been mentioned in certain circles that like Cannibal Corpse's drummer really had to step up his game to be able to keep up on the new record because he is getting a little bit older and they're playing 300 beats a minute or more.
Yeah.
And there's only so long that you can continue to do that. I mean, that's kind of what I was getting at with just metal bands in general. I mean, like Lars Ulrich, we already know he's not the best drummer, but the thing is, how long can he keep up with James Hetfield's right hand? I mean, because when they play live, their shit's faster by several beats, and their energy is just so up there. It's like how much longer can somebody keep up with that? And when you go to a more extreme style of music like Cannibal Corpse or Behemoth or that far end of the spectrum, is like how much longer can those bands go? And then also the singing style of death metal like Corpse Grinder. I mean, how much longer can his vocal cords take that?
I feel like with a band like maybe with a band like Cannibal Corpse, like that could carry on with only one remaining member fully. I don't know what's going with that. So.
Well, let's think of a newer band that's been around for like, let's say 20 years, but their music has evolved. Slipknot. That's a band that they've released 5 records.
Wow. I just thought about that. I was like, yeah, wow, it's been 5 records and they've been around for 18 years.
Yeah. So they've released 5 records.
Actually, they've been for over 20 and technically 6 records.
If you count Mate, Feed, Kill, Repeat,
yeah.
Yes. But their style of music has evolved to where they can slow things down. They can last a little bit longer. I mean, and then Corey Taylor's voice has obviously changed from that first record to the new record.
Yeah.
He does far less of the screaming now than he did in the past. He does more singing now, which lends itself to last longer, in my opinion.
I think a better example of what you're talking about is Seven Dust.
Yeah, that would be a very good example.
That's one that's evolved over time. And they have a little bit more leeway for things because of the fact that they have the 3 different singers. Like Lejean's voice will probably stay as soulful as it is, and the other guys, their grit will probably get a little bit more, hopefully a little bit tougher as time goes on.
And the thing is, their music isn't that extreme. I mean, they can continue playing their music forever.
And they're hitting over 20. They hit 20 years last year.
Last year, 2017 was 20 years of Seven Dust.
Yeah, from the initial album.
Yeah, the debut.
Yeah, so they're a band that can evolve over time, and they're not one I see packing in anytime soon either.
No, I really don't think so, because they're one of those bands that really, like we talk about with Pearl Jam, but they're not the same level of huge as Pearl Jam is. But the thing is, Seven Dust, whenever Seven Dust comes around and whenever they release a new record, it's always good. They always sell out this whatever venue they're playing at, and they have a very loyal fan base.
Yeah.
Even if they're not at a huge commercial level, they still have that under the radar feel. Where wherever they go, it's like it's Seven Dust. It's like, holy shit, awesome. I'm sad we missed them when they recently came by for New Year's Eve.
So yeah, now I was just thinking of something now. Since it seems like some of the bands that are calling it quits now, I can't say I'm terribly heartbroken over any of it necessarily, because they've all had their run. One such example is His Infernal Majesty.
I forgot about them. Yeah,
they are doing their final tour right now, or getting near the end of it. I think
they're coming close to the very end of it already.
But I feel that they've had a fantastic run, and
there's really not much more they can do.
Yeah, I feel like they've kind of like, I'm sure they can still come out with new albums and everything. I'm sure it'll be good, but I feel like they've kind of hit that point where they can back away from it, and their legacy is sound. So there isn't anything that is breaking up that I am devastated over. If you announced extended hiatuses, I might get upset. If you told me that like Symphony X were going on an extended hiatus, I might get upset. But they're not. There are some things where you can expect time between. Like, they never announce any sort of official breakup or stopping, but you can expect some time between them. Like, I'm counting the days to the next Tarot album. Looking for that Northern King CD. Yeah. So yeah, I don't think I don't think I've been struck with any particularly hard blows as far as these bands that are packing it in. Um, there are very few. Like I've been lucky enough in the last 3 years in particular to catch up on a lot of the bands that are on my bucket list, and say like, okay, I finally caught these guys. I caught these guys. Um, like I've seen them. I'm happy. I'm cool. Like they're what they've done is good. They can end it right here. It's cool. So.
Are there any bands out there right now that you think are in that extended hiatus or broken up zone that you wish would come back? Like that they've gone too soon.
Northern Kings. Really wish they'd come out with something soon. That'd be really nice. I'm gonna continue looking at my list here of music. No.
Well, the one that comes to mind first for me is System of a Down.
Yes. I love System of a Down. I think that Mesmerize was a phenomenal piece of work. If you took off the one track in the middle of the album, which I can't stand, and in a way, it's great that technically they went out on a high note. Although Hypnotize came out, and I was like, meh. It's all part of the same album overall. But I really wish they would come together and release new material, because like the stuff that they've released separately has been good.
Yeah.
At worst, it's been good. So I would like to hear them collaborate again. It's just who knows
at
how.
this point, because they've played so many shows as System of a Down, I just want the speculation to go away.
Yeah.
Either say you're done and be done,
Mhm.
or record a fucking new album and release it already.
Yeah.
Like, just get it done. Either way.
Yeah. Just lay it to rest. Don't be playing with my heart here, man. We're playing.
I mean, that's what we're talking about with Tool here. I mean, they went on that huge tour, successful tour. They're headlining festivals this year. There's been talk of a new album since the beginning of fucking time, it feels like.
Yeah.
Are you going to do it or not? I mean, what are you doing? Just do something. One band I wish would come back, and I think we're in the right time for it, is Rage Against the Machine.
I knew it. I knew you were going to say it.
I think they come up in this conversation every time we have it.
Of course.
Just a band that was gone too soon.
I'm going to come back to that in a bit, but here are two examples of what we were talking about before. One being a band that has cemented their legacy. They have nothing more to prove. It's time for them to go. Manowar. Manowar's on their final tour right now, and it's that time.
Yeah.
They don't need to keep releasing new material because it's all going to sound the same. No offense to them, not really.
I think they've actually come to that realization themselves.
Yeah.
Like they know they're a joke.
Yeah.
Almost. Like, not a joke, but they know they're the butt of a lot of jokes,
Yeah.
and there's some legitimacy to it.
Yeah, but they've done everything they can do. I think. I don't think you can take your shtick, serious or not, and go too much further with it. You've got other bands doing that for you. I think it's time to just pull away. Going into bands that I don't see stopping, artists that I don't see stopping until they can no longer do it, is King fucking Diamond. We saw as of 2 years ago
Yes.
that he can still do it with ease.
And the thing is, we were concerned about that when he had his bypass surgery several years ago, but then he came back at that Ozfest with Metallica, fucking owned it, and right after that, he pretty much started his, I guess you can call it a comeback, and he performed Abigail 2 years ago.
Yeah.
As if there was never a note missed.
Yeah.
Like, it was phenomenal. So I could definitely agree with you on that front.
Yeah. So we've been talking about this for a good while.
Yeah, we
I
have.
think we're going to start trailing it off here.
Yeah.
Because I think that what it comes down to is we want the stuff we like to come back for a little while. We want some things we're okay with to go away. We want everybody to be able to recognize when they're not able to do it anymore. That means you, Ozzy. That means you. And maybe you, Metallica. We're watching you.
No. When I saw them this past summer, they still got it.
I said maybe you, Metallica.
Yeah, maybe another 10 years.
Maybe. But I think we're going to make a curtain call here because Warrior needs food badly. If I can find that fucking clip. Oh my god, I have so many clips. Damn it.
Warrior needs food badly.
Yeah, Gauntlet.
Totally use a sandwich right now.
Well, you can always use a sandwich.
It's true.
I have some turkey if you want some turkey.
No, I have food at home.
Okay.
Thank you, though.
Well, let me see if I have an ending written here. Oh, no, I don't. I haven't written a brand new ending or anything like that. However, I will use this time to say that we just put up our top 3 video for November of 2017. Go check it out on youtube.com/theshredshack. And in the coming 2 weeks, you can expect our top 3 video for December, as well as our next 10 words review video for Iron Maiden. And after that video goes up, we will be putting up a poll for the next month's 10 word reviews, which will be this month's loser, Iced Earth, against some other band that we are going to eventually decide on. And I think that's what we got for new material. You can obviously check out every episode of the hit list that Pat and Reese post up. Typically every single week. They did not do a live show this week, so there will not be one up, obviously. But keep an eye to youtube.com/theshredshack for more videos, and facebook.com/theshredshack for more random fun postings and, you know, when we complain about bands not coming to San Antonio and stuff.
And we're going to be recording some Lego Lord of the Rings next week.
Oh, yes, we are. I had to cut down the last episode a little bit because that's the one we got lost on. I don't know what we're doing.
What are we doing? We had to look it up because we're cheaters.
Well, it was so simple, though.
I know, after
Yeah,
we
it's like-
found out,
it
it
was
was
like-
so simple.
I was like, fuck you, Frodo, and your cloak of invisibility bullshit.
It sounds like a Harry Potter episode.
Anyway, in reference to that,
You get nothing. You lose. Good day, sir.